Hello, how do you do, my beloved students? Today is our session which needs us to continue or to proceed with the subject which known as literature in English. So in literature in English, we have discussed or we started on the first period. And the first period, we have discussed a lot about the meaning of the term literature. On the meaning of the term literature, let me remind you a little bit about what we have discussed on the last period. So, on the last period, we have discussed a lot about the meaning of literature. And here, we looked we observed a lot of definitions of literature which have been provided by different scholars. So after looking those definitions of literature which are provided by different scholars, we determined some words or key terms or basic terms which are found in the definition of literature. So those four definitions of literature which we discussed, there are some words which appear in each definition of literature. So let me remind you also those key terms which are found in the definition of literature. The first one is imagination, and the second one is an art, and the third one is social realities, and the last one is language. And also we discussed as much as we can those basic terms found in the definition of literature. So I think if you have followed me where we started in this subject, I think you know about those key terms which are found in the definition of literature. So after that, there is a task which I gave you. I think you did it as much as you can, and I think you have did correction about those issues as demanded you on that task which I gave you on the last period. So today we proceed with our subject which known as literature in English at the ordinary level. So if you are a student of ordinary level, specifically starting from starting with Form 3 and the Form 4 as well. So today we proceed with another subtopic or another issues which are being included in this subject, which is known as functions of literature. Functions of literature. Functions of literature in the society. So in this period we are going to discuss a lot about functions of literature. So here there is a one word which is known as functions. So sometimes there are some vocabularies which can stand on behalf of functions. So in another term we may say that importance of literature, or advantage of literature, or roles of literature, or benefits of literature. So those are the several words which can be used to mean as appear on our board, which is functions of literature in the society. So what are the advantages which you may get or which you can be benefited through studying of literature, or through reading, watching, or listening a lot of literary works which have been provided or composed by different authors or artists or any person who wrote a certain literary work. So those are the advantages or functions or roles which are played by literature in the society. So the first one, we may start with, in functions of literature, we deal with what literature does. So in the functions of literature, we are going to discuss about what are the functions, what are the roles which can be played by the society. So what literature does is the importance of literature too. As I told you earlier, that when you speak about function, in sometimes we can say importance of literature. Therefore, the functions of literature are the importance of literature. So let us start one after another. Those importance of studying literature, or those advantages which you may get soon after watching, reading, or listening any kind of literary work. So the first function of literature is literature educates. Literature educates people in the society. So the first one among of vital rules which are played by literature is to educate the society. What does it mean when you say that literature educates the people, or educates the people in the society? This simply means that when you are reading any kind of literary work, there are some issues which you may get. Maybe we are so ignorant about a certain issue. So when you are reading or listening any kind of literary work, and we can realize that this is a mistake, or this is correct, and this is not correct, so that we can be educated through literature. So here we may say that it educates people in the society. It educates people by giving them some awareness and self-actualization. So here, maybe you are not aware about a certain issue. So when you are reading or watching or listening any kind of literary work, you may be aware. You may be aware about a certain issue. So also there is a self-actualization. You can be actualized soon after reading any kind of literary work. So literature develops the mind of people by giving the knowledge of existing social realities. So here, literature tries to give us the knowledge about a lot of issues or a lot of experiences. And a good example of it, let me give you an example. If you are listening a certain song, so if that's a certain song which you are listening, try to give you a knowledge which is not give up about any certain issue. So if you are struggling about about poverty, so after reading that or after listening about that, you may get a message that if you want to be out of poverty, you are not supposed to give up. So you have to make a lot of effort so as to be out of poverty. So thereafter, a person can get hope that if I can fight, or if I can do a lot of work, I can be out of poverty. So that literature there can stand as a tool that try to educate people about a certain issues, or how to overcome a lot of problems which occur in our society. So that is the first function or importance or role of literature. And the second one is to liberate people. So the second function of literature is that there are a lot of literary works which have been composed by several artists. So when we are listening about a certain literary work, it can be a song. So try to liberate the people. Here we may say that literature liberates people physically and mentally. That is through making awareness by informing them about the realities from the society. So here, the point which you have to take here into consideration is that literature sometimes can liberate a person physically and mentally. So that is the point which you have to be very careful about. You can be liberated physically or mentally. So here, let me give you an example. If you are listening about a certain song and you are praying, so you may exercise your body, so you can be liberated physically. Or if you are not, you are someone who are not want to be engaged in any productive work. So sometimes there are several literary works which try to give you a lot of opportunities that you may use so as to liberate physically and also mentally. Maybe you are not, you have psychological torture. So if you have somebody, or you have your beloved one, and he or she has tried to betray you, so if you are listening a certain song or any kind of literary work, can give you a hope that you may use another chance to find another beloved one, rather than being blaming yourself maybe about somebody who has betrayed you. So that can try, that is another function or roles of literature through a lot of literary works which you may get or which you may read or listening that try to liberate us physically and mentally. Also, another function of literature is that literature expresses people's culture. Another function of literature is that there are a lot of literary works which try to give us a lot of examples or a lot of culture which are being practiced in different African societies. A good example of it is where we are listening or we are reading a certain text, and that text try to give us a certain culture about a certain society. Example, if we can take an example in the book which is known as a play, which is known as This Time Tomorrow, or Three Sisters One Husband. So when you are reading on that book, you may get that how people try to continue practicing a lot of African culture, like a man or a woman are not women are not allowed with a man who is coming from another tribe. So if you can read on that, and that is one among of literary works. So if we are reading on that text, you may learn that there are some African culture which deny their daughters to be married with a man who is coming from another tribe. So apart from being picked on the literary work, you can't know, sometimes you may not know a certain culture about a certain society. So when you are reading on that, you may learn that literature try to give a lot of culture which are being practiced in different areas. So that is another function of literature. Literature can express good norms, values, and practice so that people may follow or ignore them. So on the literature which you have to take here or to be very careful in that, literature try to give us good culture and wrong culture, or negative social cultural practice so as to be out of them, and those which bring positive changes we may proceed to be engaged or practicing. So that is another function of literature. Another function of literature is that literature develops language. So here literature and language cannot be separated. So when you speak about these two terms which are a language and a literature, these are two terms which you cannot separate more. That's why literature depends much on language, and sometimes language depends much on literature. That's why there are some vocabularies or language can gain new vocabularies through a lot of literary works. So you may see how these two terms depends one after another or each other. So it helps readers to understand, grammar, vocabularies, and the various expressions like idioms, proverbs, and other sayings. So when you are reading any kind of literary work, there are communication skills which are being involved in any kind of literary work, or most of literary work, like reading, listening, speaking, and writing. These are 4 communication skills which can be developed by literature. So that makes us to say that literature also can be used as a tool where people can use to learn language. Those issues which can be learned on the language are the the issue of grammar. When you speak about grammar, it simply means that are those principles, procedures that guide to those language users. Also vocabularies, when you meet with new vocabularies which you are not familiar, you may find a dictionary so as to know the meaning of those words. Also other expressions like idioms, proverbs, and other sayings. Another function of literature is to influence people towards changes. So here, people may be influenced to act or do things in some ways after reading or watching literary works. So when you are watching or listening or reading any kind of literary work, there are some behaviors which a lot of readers may want to act as has been presented or observed by a certain character. So sometimes we may be changing. If you are not looked smart and there is one character who you are so admired in case of physical appearance, so you may be admired and you may be want to change your personality or how you are looked before. So that is another function of literature. It tries to change us. Another function of literature is to entertain. So also by reading, watching, listening to the literary works, a person gets pleasure and enjoy, and a person gets pleasure and enjoy. So another function of literature is that literature tries to entertain the society. So we have a lot of songs which have been sung by a lot of authors or a lot of artists which make us to feel so happy. So don't blame that literature or any kind of literary work should be focused on. That's why there are some people who try to blame that, to blame about a certain literary work if that literary work has been composed to entertain the people. So you have to determine that this is one among the function of literature. So any literary work can be composed so as to entertain the people only. So that is another function of literature. Another function of literature is to criticize the society. To criticize the society. If we are doing any behavior that is not accepted to the society, so a lot of literary works can stand there or can be there so as to criticize, to show that you are wrong about a certain behavior. If you are a corrupt leader, you may be criticized. If you are somebody who try to betray your beloved one or to betray your parents or your relatives, so literature tries to criticize you about a certain behavior which you are doing. So here, many literary works criticize people who are morally bad so as to change their behavior. So that is another function of literature. The literature represents in all work of art aimed to criticize the people who have related behavior. So don't be surprised when you meet with a character who have distributed a characterization of drunkenness. That's why he or she wants you to change about your behavior, which make you to be engaging of drinking alcohol and actually make you to do unaccepted behavior in the society. So another function of literature which are not here is that literature sometimes literature create employment opportunity in the society. So that is another function or importance of literature which you may add on that. So literature can stand there so as to create a lot of employment to the people. And if we want to prove it, just try to trace back in our society. There are some artists who have employed themselves, and they used that chance to employ other youths. So, and a good example, I can say that, like, there is a famous artist in Tanzania who is Diamond Platinum. So you may see he has employed himself, and there are a lot of people who have been employed by Diamond Platinum. So you may see, and those issues which are being engaged by either a Diamond Platinum or Harmonize is literary work. So that is another function of literature, and you may see how a lot of youth can be employed themselves and use that chance to employ other people. So that those are the functions of literature. So after looking those functions of literature, there is exercise here which you have to do, that is explain 6 roles of literature in the society. I think you have discussed a lot of functions or importance or roles of literature. So here I decided to use a word, roles, so as to remind you that don't claim that there is one word which is known as function. Sometimes they can use other correlative vocabularies so as to show you how you did understand about this subject. So you have to tackle this exercise, explain 6 roles of literature in the society. So after discussing this question, you have to write it as needed. That's why you are supposed to write it in essay form. You have to start with the meaning of literature. Also, you may talk a little bit about it, types of literature which you know. That's why that is another issue which you are going to discuss. But you may try as much as you can those types of literature which you know. After that, you may tackle to explain or to mention those functions of literature as we studied on this period. So thank you. I mostly welcome you to proceed in our session when we will proceed with other sessions. That's why this is a continuous process. So we will continue providing you about those issues which we are discussing concerning on our subject, as I tried to tell you where I started on this subject. Thank you. I wish you all the best.